Tesla Model 3 had finally made its way to Europe, and people are finally driving it, touching it, feeling it. They are excited about it. But I'm all the way here in California. I can't really keep my close eyes on it, and so I figured I'll have someone on my show. He's in Europe, Ryan of EV Opinion. If you haven't seen that channel, check it out. It's in the description of this video. We actually already started this conversation. The part one of it you'll be able to see on his channel. Now we're going to talk about the Model 3 and a few other things that we don't really have going on here in the United States. He's going to tell us all about it in his awesome British accent. All of this is coming up next. Welcome to E4Electric. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button so you don't miss anything moving forward, and of course become a part of this amazing community. All right, so as you guys know, a lot of times comment section, those of you who are watching me in Europe saying, Alex, why are you always talking in miles and all, not kilometers, and we have these things going on and not that. And granted, I've been trying to cover things like Ionity and Zoe and many other things that you guys got going on in Europe, and always a reception for a new car or a brand in Europe is a little different, right? The lifestyle is different, the availability is different, the pricing, everything is very much different. When I visited a few times in the last year, I got to kind of feel it myself. Things are definitely interesting. So I'm going to have Ryan come on the show and continue our conversation. And we're going to talk about the adoption of Model 3. Before that, of course, I want to remind you guys that this show is sponsored by Accelerate Auto, the amazing service for electric car owners here in the United States. The extended service contract, up to 125,000 miles, $100 deductible. And of course, as always, there is a discount code in the description of this video. Unfortunately, the service is not available in California, but they also offer business leases for all electric cars, including Tesla Model 3. So check it out in the description of this video. All right, guys, without further ado, I want to introduce you to Ryan of EV Opinion. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Thanks ever so much, and welcome to the UK.
Thank you. I was there actually last year. I absolutely loved it. A beautiful country, and I also loved London, which I guess not too many people do. I loved it. So I'm hoping to be back. But all right, I know we just had a conversation on your channel, and I encourage people to go and check that out. But it's my turn to ask questions, and of course, my first one. Tell us a little bit about, how Tesla Model 3 is doing. Are people excited about this car because they had to wait pretty much the longest, or people already kind of said, well, we have other options here with Zoe and Kona and Niro and so forth. How are people sort of? What's the excitement level for the Model 3?
Yeah, there is a real interest in it. There's no doubt about it. Tesla is the pinnacle, isn't it, of the electric vehicle? It's what we all want. They've got the mileage, they've got the luxury that comes with it. Of course, there's been some issues over time regarding possibly the build quality and bits and pieces, but we are entering a new era, and we're entering an era of the Model 3 being that car that they want everybody to buy. They want it to be the car of the masses. But you're right, we've got things like the Zoe here. We've got the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf, which very soon there's going to be the 60, or there could be some issues over the price with that, which might outprice it above the Model 3. The Kona, the Niro. So we do have these vehicles that can do similar mileage for quite a good price already. But that said, if it equates from America to the UK, a $35,000 Model 3, which is about £26,500, then this thing, they will not be able to build enough of them. That is an incredible price for an incredible car. I have my reservations that it will come here at that price. I think by the time the import duties and the taxes and everything else go on it, I think it's probably going to be over £30,000, maybe up towards £35,000, which still isn't an awful lot of money, but it takes it away from that absolute car for the masses, which it would appear it's going to be in the States at the moment.
Okay, and so you're a reservation holder yourself, is that correct? And why?
Right, no, I actually I'm not. I came so close to it, and the only reason I didn't was because the time just kept seeming to get put back, and it would have been lovely to put the money down, but I honestly didn't believe that it would come to the UK at that under £30,000 mark. And if that was the case, then for me, that was just too much money. I couldn't afford that with the other bits and pieces that are going on. And also, I'm still paying for my Leaf. So it got away from me. That said, if they do get it here for under £30,000, then I will be kicking myself, and I'll probably be joining the back of the queue.
Okay, so you just mentioned incentives. How are the incentives in where you're at in Great Britain, but also in Europe? And do you feel like they're helping, or it's just a cherry on top where people would have bought these cars anyway? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think probably very similar to yourselves, that the incentives are being reduced all the time, and we've just come through a period where the incentives for plug-in hybrids have been cancelled altogether. The incentive for a battery electric vehicle has been reduced. So yes, there are incentives, but I honestly, I don't think that is the make or break. We are only talking £2,000 or £3,000 worth of incentives at the moment. So when you're talking about spending £30,000 on a car, of course it helps, but I don't really think at that level it's going to make a huge difference. I really don't.
Wow, interesting. In Taiwan, it made all the difference in the world, and we'll see how things are going in the U.S. The sales are definitely down for now, but that's usually normal for the beginning of the year. All right. Well, so it's interesting you mentioned that the timing and the pricing of the Model 3. So if you had to sort of crown a king of electric cars in Europe, do you think it's the Model 3? Do you think it's Tesla? Or do you think people are kind of looking at Tesla as just yet another choice for them in Europe as far as electric cars are concerned?
Yeah, I think because of the time it's taken for it to arrive here, I think, yes, there's going to be undoubtedly the excitement over a Tesla. And, for those of us that like electric vehicles and have driven them and have seen Tesla come from the original Roadster all the way through, then of course, for me, that is the car to have. I would love a Model 3. I'd love a Model S or an X. I'm not choosy. But I think there are too many options now for people. And I think in order for the excitement to explode on the Model 3, as I say, that price point has to be similar to what you're getting in America. And that way it becomes very, very competitive with what we already have here. For example, the Kona. And of course, it opens up that whole other question about what do people want at the moment? And these compact SUVs and the Model Y, obviously, we're going to hear about soon. I think possibly people might wait for those.
Okay, all right. That was kind of my impression. That's what I was thinking. That I think because of the delay for Tesla in Europe, and yet everybody else like Kona and Niro jumping there first, that the balance might have been different there than we have it here. Okay. What about charging, right? I think the biggest concern for people adopting non-Tesla electric cars is a charging network. Obviously, Tesla has the superchargers. Here in the United States, we have this ugly child of the Dieselgate called Electrify America. They're doing a great job. And you guys over there have Ionity. Tell me a little bit about the charging infrastructure, and is this a concern for people? And what is the standard, by the way? I think you guys are doing a good job at adopting CCS standard right now. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, okay. Well, the CCS side of it at the moment, it does appear that is probably going to come to the forefront. And I think that's going to be driven by the European Union, the EU. It seems like they've got their weight behind it, and they've adopted that as their favoured choice. They haven't said that you can't use any other plugs, but they have said that's their favoured choice. And of course, we see Daimler, BMW, Audi, Ford all coming together and saying that this is what we're going to use. So I think CCS is very, very strong, albeit certainly in the UK at the moment, the plugs aren't as readily available as, say, CHAdeMO. So it's going to take a while for it to come forward. But the charging network in the UK, for all the grumbles that people have, actually, when you look at it on a map, it's not too bad. Now, of course, there's black spots, there's areas that people complain about all the time, and things have to be done to improve that. But our motorway network is covered really, really well, and that was done a long time ago. Now, Again, there are some concerns about a monopoly being taken over there with the Electric Highway or Ecotricity. They have got the monopoly on all the service station areas, and it would appear that they've put the chargers in, but haven't done an awful lot to upgrade them. Now, they are doing it very, very slowly. They're looking to upgrade them all to 150 kilowatts. But at the moment, they're quite old and they're quite temperamental, and people just cannot rely on them. And of course, those stories start getting into social media. People regurgitate them, pick up the bad points. And when you speak to somebody that doesn't have an EV, it's always the number one thing that they mention, the fact that the charging network isn't good enough. Now, personally speaking, I've had very few problems, and any problems I've had generally been of my own making. I think once have any chargers ever let me down, and that was actually brand new Polar chargers. So yeah, you can't odds it, but I think as a whole, we're not doing too badly, and certainly the future looks bright. The big concern here in the UK is just those charges in and around service stations and what's going to happen with those.
Interesting. So, I've let's talk about actually charging a little more. What is the one of the biggest sales points for buying electric cars, saving money on gas. Now here in the U.S. our gas prices are a little low and our electricity prices are going up, so the gap is closing. How is it in Europe? Talk a little bit about electricity pricing versus gas pricing. Is the gap still pretty big? Is that still a pretty good incentive?
Yeah, the price of petrol and diesel here is high. At the moment, I'm paying £1.20 a litre for petrol, and it's more expensive than that for diesel. So yeah, that is an issue here, and it's very unstable. That it's recently reduced, but it's likely to go back up again just as quickly. Price of electricity, certainly, I think where we differ here compared to America is that we, you correct me if I'm wrong, we have a choice of the energy suppliers we can use in our homes. So there's endless lists of people that I could choose to bring the electricity into my house. But I believe state by state that you have one choice and that's it. Is that right?
Yes and no. There are like right now, I think I have no choice here in Sacramento. But on the other hand, when I lived in Silicon Valley, I lived in this one city that was providing its own utilities. It was super cheap, but everybody around me was paying a lot. I do think that in some states there are choices, but you're right. Overall, it's just one. But also by choices, I just want to clarify. I don't mean just charging at home. There are also choices where people are charging in shopping centers and Tesla superchargers or Electrify America and so forth. Those prices have gone up also here in the United States. So the gap is definitely closing. I think that might just disappear very soon, and unfortunately take away one of the biggest sales points for the electric cars.
Yeah, I think it's been stable for a little while now. There was some fluctuation some time ago, and they without doubt they went up. And what we're finding is the more convenient the pumps are or the chargers are, the more expensive it is. So there's a real drive at the moment for people wanting to use contactless payment, just to use their bank card. But they appear to be the more expensive chargers to use, as opposed to having an app or an RFID card. So there is plenty of choice. And again, perhaps there is too much choice and too many. I'm sure you've spoken about it a lot in the past as well. Is there an RFID? Is it an app? Is it my bank card? Do I go on a website? There's just too much choice at the moment. But as far as pricing is concerned, it has been relatively stable now for some time.
Okay. Now, you drive an electric car yourself. Tell me a little bit about like sort of a social revolution there. Do you feel that electric cars are becoming, an acceptable choice? Do you feel they're becoming something that's a cool choice? Like right now, I feel here, well, I live in California, so it's a bit of a bubble. Like, electric cars are cool, right? But tell me, which stage of just sort of social acceptance are the electric cars now in Europe?
In the 3.5 years that I've owned mine, it really has changed. I'm not saying we're there yet. Certainly when I first got mine, people they had no idea what it was, and quite often you would almost just get laughed at as soon as you told them that you had an electric car. Yes, that's still there, and there is still that kind of lack of understanding, I guess, about what they're all about. And it's only when you get talking to people that you're able to educate them, and they do sort of see the reasons why you've got an electric car. But what I'm seeing a lot now is many more people are coming up to talk to me when I'm charging. just out of interest, just to understand what's going on, because I think it's become more acceptable, and I think it's in the news an awful lot more. So people are showing a lot more interest. Of course, if you start driving around in a Tesla, I used one for a week, had a stunning red Model S, and that attracted so much attention. And certainly nobody was laughing at that, because it looks like, certainly over here, it looks very much like a Jag. And people here generally really like Jaguars, and they associate it with a prestige car and something that you would aspire to own. So something like that is definitely, it gives a better outlook than something like my Nissan Leaf, for example. And I think we're finding now with the Niro and the Kia that the Kona, they look more like the cars that everybody else are driving. So it becomes more acceptable. So we are going through that kind of evolution, and it is getting better, but we're not there yet for sure.
All right, so let's talk about just Tesla in particular right now. Elon Musk is obviously not only just like the leader and the CEO of Tesla, he's pretty much the leader of the entire movement. I know he had a pretty turbulent year. How are things looking from across the pond? Is all the craziness translating over there to Europe, or things are pretty much more calm and less drama as far as you guys are kind of seeing this unfold?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little calmer than it is in America, but yeah, absolutely. There is that seed of doubt now with the prices changing all the time. And I know I've seen examples of Model S just overnight, the top line one being reduced by £48,000. I mean, you're going to be pretty upset if you had just bought one and that had happened. So I think with the price reduction, and now the same with the whole issue around the service centres and the sales, the stores, the price has gone up by 3%, and we're just seeing it in the headlines all the time. So I think there is a little bit of a reluctance at the moment, just till things settle down. But yeah, if they can just have a few months of just settled prices and just put some confidence back into the market, I don't think they'll have a problem. But yeah, just a little bit of unease at the moment, I think.
All right, so we're going to be airing this video on the day where I'll be going to the Model Y unveiling, and we will know more. What are the people thinking about the Model Y? Is there excitement about it, or it's kind of like, yeah, we will another Tesla unveiled. We'll see what happens in 3 years.
Yeah, and I think that you've hit the nail on the head there. Unfortunately, because it takes so long from the unveiling to us receiving it, it's kind of, yeah, of course we're interested, and of course we want to know about it, but we don't get that instant excitement about it because it's so far away, and we just keep thinking how many other cars will be available between now and then, and will it be as cutting edge when we actually receive it here? But yeah, certainly there's a lot of interest, and I think as much for me from the point that this is a car built on the Model 3 platform, so it should be very reasonably priced, and it should be the start of this revolution that he's been talking about for years.
Yeah, so we'll see. I will definitely do a report from there. My expectations are relatively low, but I also expect them to say something about the pickup truck. By say, I mean actually show us a drawing or some sort of an idea. I don't expect another Roadster jumping out of the truck and kind of a show, but I do expect them to push it just a little bit this time around. All right, well, we'll see what happens, but I also understand that, not everyone's as excited as we're here in California, because we'll be first ones to get it, even though it's still at least a year and a half, 2 years away. All right. Yeah. So, you've started this channel, a while back. And tell me, let's just talk about your channel a little bit. Like, why did you start the channel, and what the feedback has been, from, not just like your friends and family, but like also the community online, because, we're one of the few electric vehicle channels rather than just Tesla channels out there. Just kind of wondering how are things looking on your end for this?
Yeah, it's the way it started, actually. It's one of the main reasons I bought my Leaf was because I watched so many YouTube videos about electric vehicles, and there was a couple in particular that I really enjoyed, and they just gave me the confidence to go and buy it. And I thought at that point, if I ever get to the point where I know enough about it that I could help somebody else to buy one, then I'll probably just make a little video about my car and my feelings and thoughts on it. So yeah, after a couple of years, that's exactly what happened. And it was very much a mobile phone video of me talking in a car, which was fine. But it got some really nice positive responses. Don't get me wrong, and not a lot of people saw it. But I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the process of making it. And things just evolved from there. And I enjoy photography and videography. So having never been this side of the camera before, I actually realized I quite enjoyed it. So that's how the channel started. And it's grown from there. As for the reception, of course, there's always going to be the odd person who's very negative about electric vehicles. No matter what you say or do, as far as they're concerned, they're never going to last, and Tesla's a doomed company. But the vast majority of people show a real interest in it. And you know, the community that's been with me from the start, and the people that have joined us in the meantime, I love the comments after every single video. We have some really good discussions, and same with my patrons. We have some great discussions on there, and it's just nice to have people talking about, not only because they've got an electric vehicle and they enjoy owning it, but also because they're interested in one and they want to know everything about it. And that's the whole reason I started the channel, to provide that service, if you like. And if I don't know it, then the community is such a vast community now that the answer is always there somewhere. So I just enjoy all of that about it.
Well, listen, it's great talking to you, because I rarely have somebody on the channel who's kind of in the same boat with me, and it's great that you're actually where my audience maybe doesn't know as much about what's going on. So it's thanks so much for coming on, and let's see what happens in the rest of the year. I feel like it's going to be an exciting year. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and I hope to do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you ever so much for having me on your channel. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, so there it is. A great opinion from EV Opinion, all the way from Europe. As I told you, this is the second part of our conversation. The first part of the conversation we already aired on his channel. There's a link in the description of this video, so you guys can go ahead and browse and check that out. I thought that was just as good. By the way, let me give a quick shout out to one of my newer Patreons, Brandon Reed. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon community. That's the only way you can watch me live, but thank you to all of my Patreons for contributing and supporting this independent YouTube channel. Of course, if you want to become a part of that community, just browse to patreon.com/e4electric. The link is also in the description of this video. All right, let me know what you guys think, especially if you live in Europe, if there's something to add, or maybe a question I should ask Ryan next time he's on the show. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.